Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I thought I would share something with you that's a little bit different. Not a workout video today, but something that you guys have been requesting that I do a lot more of, which is really exciting. And that is doing sort of like yoga routines. And in no way am I a yoga instructor. I am not certified whatsoever, but I have been a dancer throughout my entire life, which is why you will see I'm a little bit more flexible than most people. But I do like to incorporate yoga on a daily basis, especially in the morning times, just to kind of do a quick kind of full body stretch to kind of wake up my body. And it just feels really good to stretch in the morning. So that is what I'm going to share with you guys today. I don't always stick to like a specific routine. I just kind of do what feels good for me in the moment. But I'm going to share with you guys sort of like the basics of what I kind of go over in the mornings. So yeah, this routine will be really good. You can use this as like a cool down, but you could also use this as like a morning stretch routine. What I do like to do beforehand is foam roll. I try to foam roll in the mornings and in the evenings. Especially right now, I have somewhat of a minor injury in my back, nothing major whatsoever, but it's just kind of preventing me from doing a few things at the gym. So I thought that sharing this yoga routine today would be perfect since I can't really go full force on workouts at the moment. I'm gonna try to keep it quick, but sometimes like I'll stretch for like a full half an hour in the morning. It really depends on how I'm feeling. But anyways, I'm gonna share with you guys the basics. I'm just gonna kind of talk you along through it while I'm doing it. I've never done this before, so bear with me. This is my first time ever doing like a yoga routine. But yeah, enough talking. Let's get into the stretching routine. All right guys, so I have my yoga mat. It's always good to do some yoga on a soft surface so that you're not putting like pressure or weight on your joints on like a really hard surface, especially if the surface is cold in the mornings. So make sure that you are using a yoga mat. But anyways, I like to start down here on my knees, and I just like to do a few head rolls just to kind of release the neck a little bit. And always deep breathing. Another way. Jack likes to join me for some of my stretching. He always is interested in what I'm doing. And then I just like to take a few deep breaths, so I'm going to open up my chest, push my chest to the front wall. Inhale and exhale. Contract. Inhale and exhale. A few more here. Then I just take some circles with my arms. And I'm going to bring my right arm across. I'll face you guys for this. Take your right arm across. Press that shoulder down. And then you're going to release your neck. Really focus on pressing that shoulder down. You should really feel that stretch in your neck, and just hold it here for a few moments. Take a few deep breaths. And just take one roll it out. And bring the left arm across. Press that shoulder down into the back, and release the neck. And roll it out. All right, so now I'm gonna come sort of a tabletop position. We're going to do some cat and cows. So really arch that back and contract the opposite way. Really bringing your belly button as close as you can to your spine and release. Jack. And release. Don't forget to breathe. Exhale. And then press up into a downward dog. Walk your feet out a little bit. I do always feel really tight in my hamstrings in the mornings. So I just like to kind of sit here for a little bit and walk it out. So just walk it out 1 foot at a time. Don't need to get your heels to the ground. Just make sure you really feel that stretch in the backs of your legs. And walk your hands to your feet. Take a nice deep bend and stretch. Take another bend. Come up halfway. Back down. Another bend. Bend and stretch. And now you're going to take your arms and just kind of let yourself dangle here. Really trying to find that release in the backs of your legs. Take a slight bend in your knees if you need to. I'm just going to rock it out here for a few moments. Hands on the mat again, take a nice deep bend as far as you can. Stretch your arms out as far as you can towards the top of your mat. Release that neck. Nice deep breath in and exhale and roll the body up nice and slow. So now I'm going to take to the top of my mat. I'm going to take a nice inhale upwards and exhale back down. Inhale upwards. Exhale back down. One more. Inhale upwards. And exhale back down. We're going to take our feet out to a plank position here and just come nice and forward onto the hips. Release all that tension in the back and let the neck go. And come back down into child's pose. Take a nice few deep breaths. And take that stretch once again. Tuck the toes under. And push yourself back up into a downward dog. And walk it out here again as well. Now we're going to be taking our right leg upwards. Really try to keep your hips square. So you're not opening the hips here. You should be really feeling it in the back of your hamstring. So keep the hips nice and square. Lift the leg as high as it can go. And bring it forward. So now we're going to take some lunges here. I really like to stretch out my hips and my hamstrings in the morning. That's what's really most tight for me. And then at the end, we'll do some nice back opening stretches. So just take your lunge here, take your arms upward, really feel that stretch in your hip. Hold it here for a few moments, take a nice few deep breaths. And place the knee on the ground, let your toes go. Take a nice slight arch backward and let the arms go and come forward. So hand on either side of your leg. You should really feel the stretch in this hip. Just hold it here for a few moments. And take a nice stretch backward. So again, you should be really feeling this in the back of your leg. Keep your hips nice and square. Flex the foot if you can. And forward. Stretch that hip out. Inhale and exhale. Back into that stretch. Hold it here for a few moments. And back forward. Inhale. Jack really wants in that door. I'm gonna let him out in a second. Exhale backward. Stretch out the back of that leg. And come forward and hold it there while I let Jack in here. There you go, buddy. So coming forward, you're going to, if you have your right foot forward, you're going to take your right arm and reach for that back leg. Again, this is going to be stretching out the front side of that hip. Just take a nice pull. Don't pull too hard. Just a nice stretch. Really try and let those hips sink into the ground. And let it go. Come back into the stretch one more time. And now try and reach your hands as far as you can towards the top of your mat. And come forward. Step backward, back into your downward dog. Walk it out a little bit. You should feel a bit more release in that leg that we just stretched out. And now we're going to take our left leg upward. Again, keep the hips square. And take a nice lunge forward. Find your balance. Take the arms upward. Hold it here for a few moments. And place the knee down. Let the toes go. Take a nice arch backward. And release it forward. Hold this position, really sink into that hip, feel the stretch in that hip. Inhale and exhale back into this stretch. Flex the toes if possible. Really sink into it, feel that stretch in the back of your leg. And forward. Inhale and exhale, sit backward. Inhale, come forward. Take your left arm, reach backward for your right leg, sink down into those hips, and pull the toes forward just a little bit. Release the leg, come back to your lunge. Nice deep breath, inhale, and exhale back into the stretch. Flex your toes and reach as far as you can towards the top of your mat. Hold it here for a few moments, take a nice few deep breaths. And come forward. Tuck the toes back into your downward dog. Let it go a little bit. Walk it out. And walk your hands towards your feet. Nice bend downward into that full squat position. I really just feel like this helps with opening my hips. Stretch it upward and back down and back up. One more time, back down and back up, and a nice roll upwards. Whew. Okay, so now I'm going to go into some more lunges. So I'm just going to take my left leg, step my left leg forward. Ooh, the carpet's moving. Take my right leg backward and just come here. I'm pretty sure this is called Warrior One. Don't quote me on it. I have no idea about all of these yoga poses, but I just like to hold this one for a little bit and then swoop back down, come into this lunge, reach upward, again reach backward as far as you can, keeping the toes popped this time, and come forward. And now we're going to work on opening the hip a little bit. So I have my left leg forward, so I'm taking my left arm and I'm pushing. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'm going to push my left leg outward. So my foot comes off the ground, and I'm just rolling that hip out. So you should really feel it in your hip. Keep the back leg popped a little bit, and then bring it back inward. Place the knee down. Hold this stretch here for a little bit, one more time. Let the hip go, push it out. Really feel that stretch in the hip. Roll it back inward and outward. Back in. And then just place myself into a pigeon pose. So my left leg, which is the one that's on the ground right now, is in a 90-degree angle. So you should be sitting with your left leg in a 90-degree angle. Then you're gonna roll on top of it. So you should really feel this in your hip and just sit on top of it. So your hip should be square, your right hip should be pointed towards the ground. If you can't get all the way down, you can't sit all the way into it, that's totally okay. If it's too much for you, just you don't have your left leg in as a 90-degree angle, just bring it inwards towards your hips a little bit more. But if you want that full stretch, sit in that 90-degree angle position. Just hold it here for a few moments. And come down to your elbows if you can. Back up to your hands. Into a tabletop position, take a few cat and cows. And step the right leg forward. Pop the toes up. Reach the arms upward. Take a nice back bend. You should really feel this in the front of your left hip. And come forward. Sitting into this lunge, now you're going to roll out your right hip. Put a little bit of pressure on it, keeping the back leg popped. Sitting into this hip. And bring it back inward. Pop the knee down. Again, push outward. And back in. Sit into this lunge. Don't forget to stretch out that front side of the hip when you come back into the lunge. Push outward. And back inward. One more time. Out. And back in. And now into your pigeon pose. So right leg comes to a 90-degree angle. Then you're going to put your hands in front of you. Sit on top of it. So you should really feel it in your hip. Try and sit as tall as you can. You should feel it actually in both hips. You'll feel it in this hip down here, and then also in the front side of your hip that is your leg that's being stretched backward. And come down to your elbows if you can. Hold it here for a few moments. Back up to your hands. Back into your tabletop position. A few cat and cows here. One more. Good. Just sit back into child's pose for a little bit here. Really try to reach your hands as far as you can to the top of your mat. Let it go in your shoulders. And roll up to sit on your knees. So that is kind of how I stretch out sort of the backs of my legs and my hips super quick in the mornings. And then I will go into some splits and bridges. And I know that this might be a little bit too advanced for some of you. Some of you might not be as flexible. So as I'm doing my split stretches, if you guys aren't there yet, you can practice by doing your splits. Sorry, I'm just gonna move my mat forward here. If you wanna practice getting into your splits, you can take your right leg forward, almost like we're doing the pigeon pose, but keep your foot tucked inwards a little bit more and just sit in this pose. And then you can also switch it up, sit on your bum, bring your left leg in towards yourself, and then your right leg sitting out straight, and then coming forward here as well. For me, this is not a stretch, it's just not a stretch for me. But if that is a stretch for you and you're working on getting your splits, I would recommend just stretching out those two parts while we're doing the splits. So I will just come into my splits through a lunge here. And when you're doing your splits, even if you're not all the way down and you're up here, that's wonderful. Just make sure that your hips, you're not opening your hips. I don't know if you can tell, but don't open your hips like this. Keep your hips square. So if you are facing a wall, both of your hips should be facing that wall. Try to stretch your knees. I like to also point my feet because I was a dancer. And then I'll also come downward and just sit into it a little bit more. And I'll also kind of roll as well. I just feel like it really helps with the opening of the hips. Come back up, take a nice back bend. Bring the leg around. What I struggle with the most is my hamstring flexibility, especially now because I'm lifting weights. So that is what I really try to focus on a lot, is stretching out my hamstrings. So in between each split, I'll just come here and take a few pulses. This is honestly one of the most painful stretches for me at the moment, which is pretty crazy for me because when I was younger, I used to be able to just go completely flat and not feel a thing. So I'll just hold it here for a few moments and then also flex my feet. Grab my toes, this is the painful one. Pull my toes as far as I can towards me, keeping the back straight. And your heels should be off the ground here. And then come forward. And then switch it out into my left split. So into it again through a lunge. Keeping the hips nice and square. My left leg has never been as flexible as my right. I'm sure everybody is like that. You have one leg that is much more flexible than the other. Sitting into it, coming forward. And also kind of rolling into it a little bit. Another great stretch if you're working on trying to get your splits is sitting in this position, but bending your back leg, because then you really do get that full kind of stretch in the front of your leg here, rather than sitting here. You're not getting that full stretch in your hips. So you can sit like this, tuck your back leg in, and then come and sit forward. Anyways, so now I will come into my middle splits just for a few moments. Not a full split either, just as far as my legs can come outwards. Push my hips as far as they can forward. Just kind of sit in this position for a few moments. And then just work my hands forward, get as far as I can to the ground. I'm kind of sore today, actually. This is a great stretch for everyone to do. If you can't get your legs out as far as me, that's totally fine. Just keep your legs in a little bit more and work on coming as far to the ground as possible. So I'll just like come to my elbows here and just kind of roll into it a little bit. My hips are a little bit sore today, so I'm just kind of being gentle with it. I have a lot more stretches that I could do, but I want to try and keep this short. So next I usually just come into back bends. So I'll come and sit facing a wall. You can either start by coming on your back and placing your hands by your shoulders and pressing up into a bridge. I really think that shoulder flexibility and back flexibility is so important. So pressing up into a bridge, this is really going to help to open your back the opposite way. And I also love doing bridges at the end of a day when I am just sitting and editing all day and my back is in the complete opposite position. When I'm sitting at my desk, or when everyone's sitting at your desk, you're always sitting hunched over, you know, just at your computer or whatever. So it's really nice, especially in the mornings and even at the end of the day, to open that back up and open those shoulders up and just stretch them the opposite way, because a lot of the times we're just not mindful of that and we don't do that. So making it a daily habit and a daily practice to do that will help with back pain, and it will also help with, you know, just overall feeling a lot better. I know if I'm sitting hunched over at a desk all day that I just don't feel so good. And sometimes even when I wake up, I don't feel so good. But when I, you know, stretch and move my body and open up my back and open up my chest and my shoulders, it really makes a world of a difference. So we'll just sit here and do about 3 bridges or so. Working on bringing my feet close to my hands. And coming back down, and then at the end I'll just kind of roll myself out here a little bit. And that is really about it. So that is sort of like my morning stretching routine. I do incorporate different kind of stretches and do different stretches that I'm feeling like at different moments throughout the day. So again, I don't totally stick to that routine, but that is sort of the basics, really stretching the back, warming the neck up in the morning, and also working on my hips and my hamstrings, which is where I am most tight, and I think that's where a lot of people are most tight as well. So yeah, that's kind of like my little morning stretching routine. I really don't know how that went. It was honestly kind of like weird for me to do that because I haven't actually kind of guided a stretching practice before, at least not for a few years. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys want to see any other types of stretching or yoga routines, again, I'm not a yoga instructor and maybe I did some things wrong and you guys can help me on that, but having a dance background, I do kind of know different stretches and how to open up certain things like your hips and hamstrings and all that stuff. So if you need specific stretching routines like for your back or for your shoulders or for your hips or whatever, or just like, you know, a quick 10-minute cool down or whatever, let me know in the comments down below because I would definitely be willing to make some more of these because they're really fun for me and they also keep me motivated to stretch. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.